Start. Okay.
Another exhaustive day, another testimony at this ongoing war crimes trial of ex-General General Adi Kosha here in Venezuela, Switzerland, at the Federal Criminal Court. Today was the third witness for the plaintiffs who testified. A bit of information about who he is. He's a candidate for PhD at the university in the United States. He also said that he lived in Foya, Lopa County during the latter stages of the war. Primarily, his entire testimony was about Adi Kosha's alleged activities in Foya, Lopa County. He said Kosha did commit war crimes. He accused Kosha of killing David Dimini. David Dimini, of course, is the school teacher whose wife was spoke to last year, and then she complained to Mary that her husband was butchered. Today in court, the witness did tell the court that David was butchered, allegedly on Kosha's order. He said David was butchered. Before that, David was picked up after he had disembarked a UN vehicle. He had allegedly told some UN investigators that the power station was looted by UN forces, and according to the witness, that infuriated Kosha and his men who killed David Dimini. He said David Dimini was tied, he was tortured, he was taken to the airstrip in Foya when he was allegedly murdered. He said there were other civilians too who were murdered on that same day. Their corpses were put on the open display. They were put in wheelbarrows and people could see them. He said the witness that David Dimini organs were allegedly eaten by Fanbo, one of the bodyguards of Adi Kosha. For over 2 hours, 30 minutes, the judges did asking primarily about the exact location of this generator of the power station. He said, as far as he was concerned, that this place was in Foya, and he was asked whether this power station in question was a station that provided electricity at the time, up to the time of the war. He said before Renewable came, the power station was operational, and that when Renewable launched an insurrection on Foya, when they seized Foya from MPF, the station was still operational, and up to the time they were there, before the looting took place, the station was operational. So he said Renewable was responsible for that. He also did talk about the recruitment of child soldiers. He said children were recruited as child soldiers. He said there was one person that Kosha recruited, allegedly. He called the person's name. He said the boy was frisky, and Kosha, everywhere he went on the front line, the ball was with him. He was asked on the direct examination by his lawyer about some photos, whether he could recognize photos of Kosha and whether he could recognize photos of the power station. He said yes. At the time, first when he spoke to the Swiss prosecutors, he said the photos were dark. When the photos were brought to him today as demonstrated evidence, he recognized those photos, and on a cross-examination, Kosha's lawyer did ask him about those very photos. He said yes. Kosha's lawyer asked him whether he could recognize Kosha then. He said the photos that were shown to him of Kosha were blurred, were not clear, but he could recognize Kosha when he got in court. He saw Kosha physically, and he knew Kosha. And then his lawyer said if he didn't recognize Kosha, then what makes it think was Kosha who did his alleged acts. And he said he knows Kosha very well, but the photos that were shown to him at the time were very blurred. But he knows Kosha, but me, he called Kosha, CEO Kosha repeatedly during his testimony. He was also asked about the general conduct of Igbo soldiers. He said they were very wicked people. They killed people indiscriminately. He recalled and he broke down in tears as he buried his head in his hands, talking about the Black Monday and Black Friday. Those were two informal days during the war in Lofa County. He said during those 2 days there were mass killings that took place allegedly by Igbo soldiers. He said David Dimini was his best friend, and Dimini, going back to Dimini, he said Dimini was somebody who was his best friend, somebody who was a good man. And as he was talking about Dimini, he mixed up with the 2 days, Black Monday and Black Friday, and he was very emotional about those 2 days. He also talked about whether he thinks he can get justice, why he decided to come to court, why he decided to file this complaint against Koisha. He said he couldn't have done so in Liberia because he thinks that at the time the Liberian authorities didn't have time for such a prosecution, because most of those who were accused of war crimes, who had supported alleged war activities in the Liberian civil wars, were the ones who were in power. So he didn't trust the authorities. He felt that coming here would give injustice, so that was the reason why he decided to file a formal complaint with the Swiss to get justice. He believes he get justice. He says he feels satisfied now that he's been heard, that he's been able to say things that have been bothering him for many years. Finally, he's been able to testify, and he's very confident that he will get justice. Unlike the 2 other witnesses who said, who talked about their safety, that they were not sure that their safety was guaranteed. He said, well, nobody has harmed him, nobody has threatened him. As far as he's concerned, or it's okay with him, he can go back to Monrovia because nobody knows him. We can't again call his name, we can't again call the names of any of these witnesses who are testifying in these trials, because the security has to be protected, the safety has to be counted, the safety has to be respected. So yes, he said he's not being tortured, he's not being bothered by anybody. Nobody has called him to ask him about any investigation. So that's a little bit different from what the other witnesses said. In terms of criminal liability for Koisha, he said Koisha should be criminally held liable for what happened, because Koisha was the commander for the entire Lofa County. On cross-examination, Koisha's lawyer tried to ask him about Koisha's presence, because Koisha, in his testimony last year, did say that he was not physically present at the time of the alleged atrocities people are linking him to. And this witness said, even though Koisha was not always present in Foya, he was frequently seen in Foya, but he was commander for the entire Lofa County. So it was not possible for him to have been in Foya every day. But on those specific days, the Black Monday, Black Friday, and the alleged killings of some people in Dimini, Koisha was physically present. He was the one who gave orders for those alleged killings, for those alleged atrocities to have taken place. Those were the key highlights for his testimony today. Before we leave you, tomorrow we'll be back to also give you an analysis of what will happen tomorrow in court. The 4th witness will be testifying. Let's give you a bit of history of this case. This case has been made possible because some Liberians said that they are victims. They filed a formal complaint against Ali Koisha, who sought an asylum in Switzerland, and then Koisha was arrested. He's been in pretrial detention since 2014. And then, of course, there have been several postponements of his trial. His trial formally kicked off last December. So all of these 7 witnesses filed a formal complaint to their respective counsels. Today, the 3rd witness who testified is a client for Civitas Massima and the Global Justice and Research Project. The Global Justice and Research Project and Civitas Massima, they do have 4 of the 7 witnesses. The other witnesses belong to different legal counsels. And we, of course, throughout the course of our coverage here in these proceedings, we make attempt to speak to some of them. And then, after that formal complaint was filed, Koisha was investigated, and then the trial began, like I mentioned earlier, last December. Now, the 7 witness would not come here because of some logistical constraints, and so she would testify via video link from Monrovia, somewhere in Monrovia, from an undisclosed location. She would testify. But the testimony is expected to take place next Monday. So throughout this, we're going to be hearing plenty of witnesses of the complainants, or plaintiffs, the victims of in this trial. They'll be in these trials. They'll be testifying what they know and what they decided to file a formal complaint against Ali Koisha, the ex-Lieutenant General. Koisha is being prosecuted for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity committed during the First Liberian Civil War. Of course, he's denied all of these allegations. He's being tried under the universal jurisdiction. It is a doctrine that allows a country that legislates such a doctrine or domesticates such a doctrine to prosecute residents once that resident of a foreign country is residing in Switzerland or any other country that legislates such a doctrine. So that's the reason why Kocha is being tried. He's the first Liberian who's been tried for alleged war crimes committed during the first Liberian Civil War. Thank you for watching us tonight. We'll be back on tomorrow evening for another coverage of the trial of Ali Kocha. My name is Anthony Mysterious, reporting live from Venezuela, Switzerland.